Some new information has come to light regarding the rumoured Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap UCITS ETF. I want to go through that information in this video. But before I start going through that, I want to also quickly go through how you can find out information about ETFs early on before most other people through a couple sources that I personally use to find out this information. The information I've come across includes what the fee may be for this new ETF, what the tickers will be on different exchanges, and other things, what the share price could look at on launch and when it actually may launch. Now, I've tried to get this out as soon as possible, but I do know I am about a week late. Others have revealed this news as well, but please do stay tuned because I think I've got some more details that may not have been covered in other videos on this topic. So firstly, let's go through the sources. How did I find out this information about the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap ETF? So back in February, I found out that it may be coming from the ETF Stream article that noticed that Vanguard had registered some new ETFs in Ireland. Ireland is where most UCITS ETFs are domiciled, usually because it's favourable from a withholding tax perspective. For example, ETFs domiciled in Ireland pay 15% withholding tax on US stock dividends, whereas ETFs domiciled in Luxembourg are paying a 30% withholding tax on US stock dividends. And generally, you do see, for that and a load of other reasons, most ETFs are domiciled in Ireland for UCITS investors. So it was that initial ETF Stream article that kind of showed that it was coming, and a number of the other ETFs in that ETF Stream article are now actually available. The Russell 1000 ETFs, the growth and the value ones are now actually available to invest into. So they were right that these ETFs were coming, and in fact, a number of them have already launched. That could tell us that maybe the Global All Cap is coming very soon because a number of the other ETFs on this list that ETF Stream noticed have actually been released. So we can put two and two together. Maybe the Global All Cap is next, but more on the potential release date later in the video. Now, this latest information is a Vanguard prospectus dated June or July. I'll put it on screen to be precise, that's come to light. And this prospectus contains details of all of the new funds, basically, as well as existing funds as well. Now, I found out about this prospectus being out there through Banker on Wheels, which is another investing website, and I subscribed to their weekly newsletter, weekly email. And I think it was their weekly email on the 8th of August. The subject was about the proposed fee of the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap ETF. And we're not going to leave any more waiting now. The fee for the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap ETF, according to this prospectus, is 0.07%. So that is very, very cheap. We'll talk more about that fee later in this video, but that will make it one of, if not the joint cheapest, existing global ETF that is out there. Global meaning containing both developed and emerging markets. But the thing with the Global All Cap, the reason why this is such a popular option, is that all cap in the name, all capitalizations, all sized companies. Most other global ETFs that exist only contain large and mid-cap stocks. So ETFs that track the FTSE All World, the MSCI All Country World Index, or the Amundi ETF that tracks the Solactive Index, they only contain large and mid-cap. So if these details do turn out to be correct, not only will this be one of the lowest cost global ETF options, it'll also be one of the only ETFs that contain large, mid, and small companies from all over the world. Last bit on the source here, I'm not affiliated with Banker on Wheels or ETF Stream in any way. These are just two resources that I use to find out details about ETFs early. I don't know what their sources are. They probably have some inside information and get things passed on to them. That's how they're able to know about these things so early. And a quick disclaimer before we go through this prospectus, I think it's always worth noting that until this ETF is released and actually on platforms, and we see the details on our platforms, on the fund page, then anything could be subject to change. I'm not an expert on prospectuses. I'm not going to pretend that I am an experienced investor when it comes to reading prospectuses, and I know what all the terms mean, and I know that these are definitely concrete details. I can say that I am pretty confident that these details will be correct because I can't imagine they'd put this prospectus together and then go on to change some things, but I think it is possible. And because it is possible they could change things, I want to give the big caveat that some of these details may be subject to change. And until we actually see it on our platforms, just keep that in mind. Take everything with a pinch of salt. And yeah, that second part, please do remember that I'm not an expert with reading these prospectuses. I'm a personal finance YouTuber sharing my own journey. So I just want to give that caveat because I do think it'd be a bit dishonest of me to sit here and say that I've read this prospectus. I understand everything that's in this. I know these details are definitely correct. And I know that this is going to happen. So in the prospectus, the first thing to note is we have the list of all the funds that are contained within the prospectus, and we have this bit at the bottom of the list about funds that have been established but not yet launched. And among those are the rumoured, the fabled Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap UCITS ETF. And I think another interesting one here is the FTSE All World ex-US option that I think will be also quite popular. So skipping to page 601 now, the page for the new FTSE Global All Cap ETF. And the first thing to note here is, of course, the index it's tracking, the FTSE Global All Cap. This is important to note because I do mention sometimes on my channel that sometimes in the title of the ETF, it'll be misleading. So it'll say the name of an index in the title of an ETF, but then you actually check the index the ETF is tracking, and it's a slightly different index. So you may think it's a bit silly to check given the name of the ETF, but trust me, it's not always as simple as the name of the ETF is also the index it tracks. The next point to note here is that it does reference how it will replicate the index, and it does use the word sampling, representative sample. So we know it's going to be not full replication, which would be very surprising if it was full replication. I believe the FTSE Global All Cap Index contains around 10,000 stocks, tracks the performance of 10,000 stocks. So for an ETF to contain 10,000 stocks, I imagine that would be pretty expensive in terms of the internal costs incurred and transaction fees and so on, especially the very much smaller companies. To put this in perspective, the existing Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap OEIC uses sampling as well, and I believe that contains around 7,500 stocks of the 10,000 in the index. So we'll have to see how that will compare with the ETF when it is officially launched. Will it have a similar number of stocks, 7,500? Will it be slightly less in the ETF? I do believe if it has anywhere near 7,000 stocks, that must be up there, if not the most diversified ETF, the ETF that grants the most diversification in terms of number of holdings. Because, for example, the FTSE All World ETF, MSCI All Country World ETFs do tend to have somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 stocks. So if this ETF has 7,500, then that'll be nearly double what most FTSE All World and MSCI All Country World Index ETFs currently have. The next thing to note here is regarding the tracking error, tracking difference, and they're aiming for a 0.3 percentage point tracking difference between the index benchmark and the ETF. And looking at the performance of the existing OEIC, the Global All Cap OEIC, this does seem to be, if we look at calendar year performance, pretty similar to the tracking difference that the Global All Cap OEIC is getting. Now, the notable risk that is different to other existing global funds is it does mention the risk of investing into smaller companies. I've mentioned it a number of times in this video already, but that is the big difference. The reason why people were excited about this Global All Cap ETF is it includes small-sized companies as well. And as a UK investor, there are currently no ETFs that are listed in GBP that include large, mid, and small-sized companies that are just simple global market cap weighted ETFs. The only existing ETF that has a listing in GBP that contains large, mid, and small companies is the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap ESG ETF. So this is basically that ETF without the ESG filter. Okay, now on to the really interesting bits. We have the initial offer price, and it does say that'll be 5 GBP, CHF, USD, euros. And this is basically the price that the initial participants, institutional investors, will get their initial shares in. And it gives us some idea of what the ETF will launch at. And it will be around this £5 mark. And the reason why this is interesting to know is that £5 is a very low price for an ETF share price. And this matters if you're using a platform that doesn't have fractional shares. A really annoying thing is if you're on a platform that doesn't have fractional shares and say the share price of an ETF is £110, well, if your monthly deposit is £100, that month you can't buy a share. So when you have a really low share price, it means you're less likely to have annoying spare change left over or much smaller amounts of annoying spare change. If you're on a platform like Trading 212, Invest Engine, Lightyear, and a few others that have fractional shares, then this doesn't really matter either way. I do also want to make clear that these are the bits where I think you have to be an institutional investor, have worked on the inside and the engine of ETFs to actually understand what all these terms and details mean. So do understand that when I'm reading through this and when you're reading through it, unless you are in the industry and have experience with these prospectuses and what all these terms mean, just be aware of that is all I'm saying. Now, initial offer period. This is where I've seen, I think, a bit of confusion. I think people are taking this initial offer period to mean that the ETF must launch by the 29th of January 2027. So my understanding of this initial offer period is where the initial institutional investors, basically the seed capital for the ETF, the initial investors to actually build up some AUM before the fund launches, the authorized participants actually buy some shares of the ETF. And so this is the initial period where I say it's building up the AUM, and then at the end of that period, it could become available to retail investors when it becomes listed on the exchange. However, what I think here is that it could launch before that 29th of January date, or it could launch after, because it does contain the disclaimer in this section that this can be changed. I'll just get the exact wording. I believe it says that this date can be shortened or extended. So in other words, the ETF could be launched significantly before that date, or it could be launched after that date. So don't read too much into this date. Don't set it in your calendar. It could come out way before or way after. Now, scrolling down to the bit that everyone is really excited about, the ongoing charge figure is 0.07% for unhedged share classes and 0.1% for hedged share classes. So as I say, this is very, very cheap. And especially even the hedged one, a hedged global all-cap ETF is 0.1%. Is incredible. That's cheaper than all the existing FTSE All World ETFs, all the existing MSCI All Country World Index ETFs. Actually, with the exception of the new X-Trackers ETF, I do believe that has a 0.07%. But apart from that, it is interesting to have such a cheap hedged option as well. But of course, I think most people will be more interested in the unhedged version of 0.07%. These other fees below regarding creation and redemption fees, I believe, can be ignored because these will apply to institutional investors. For retail investors, when the ETF is listed on an exchange, this 2% will not apply. I've had this in the past where people have seen the entry and exit fees in Amundi documents and got worried that these Amundi ETFs have really high entry and exit fees, but they do just apply to institutional investors, not to retail. So I do believe that is most of the interesting information in the prospectus. I will link the document down below if you want to read through it and see what you can find as well. But the other thing I wanted to cover in this video that I haven't seen others mention is that we can potentially see the tickers of these ETFs by looking on the Bloomberg website. And I typed in Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap ETF Bloomberg, and I got a number of Google results, and we can see these listings here. So for example, on the London Stock Exchange, we have VALL, so VAL, the ticker, that's Vanguard All Cap, I guess, that's what that stands for. And then in Switzerland, the dollar listing is VAL as well. And then an extra Euro listing, VGLD. And then on Amsterdam, the Euro listing, VALL. Now, what I can't see here is whether these are the tickers for the distributing or the accumulating share classes. Because there's a paywall on Bloomberg, and I can click onto the website and see this top bit, but I can't scroll down. If I scroll down, it's prompting me to pay, basically. So I can't see anymore. I don't know if there's the distributing or accumulating, but these do seem to be the tickers for one version of it. So that's everything that's new about the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap ETF. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Just to quickly end up, I do want to summarize what we don't know for sure. So what we don't know for sure is when the ETF is actually going to launch. That initial offer period, it could be in that period, it could be after that period. But based on the fact that they have launched a number of the other ETFs, like the Russell 1000 Value and Growth, maybe it is coming very soon. Hopefully, it would be. I'm really interested to see these details actually confirmed on a platform, seeing them, because it does just still feel a bit surreal in the sense that these fees kind of throw Vanguard's entire product range out of whack, because this will make their FTSE Global All Cap ETF their joint cheapest ETF, equity ETF, alongside the FTSE 100 and S&P 500. And it'll make their ETFs like their FTSE All World more expensive than their Global All Cap. And it will also mean there's a significant fee difference between their Global All Cap ETF and Global All Cap OEIC. So will Vanguard have a big fee restructuring and make all their ETFs cheaper to make this make more sense? Or actually, are they just going to keep the existing fees on the ETFs, or maybe gradually reduce them a little bit, but not to the same extent, because they have that brand loyalty? They know that people will still buy and sell these ETFs. They're not too worried about that. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, in the US, we've seen Invesco, for example, launch 2 different NASDAQ 100 ETFs, and they have their older, higher fee NASDAQ 100 ETF that they don't reduce the fee on, even though they have another one that is lower fee that does the same thing, because they know people still buy that higher fee one, so they have no reason to lower it. That is one thing that I've thought about, that maybe Vanguard won't lower the fee on the FTSE All World. The other thing that I've seen people note on Reddit, on a German subreddit, is that a lot of European investors will be locked into the FTSE All World ETF, because to switch, they may have to incur capital gains tax. So to sell their FTSE All World shares and then buy the global all cap, they would have to obviously realize capital gains, and that may be a taxable event. In the UK, we're lucky in the sense that we have stocks and shares ISAs and these pension wrappers as well, which means there are no capital gains tax and it can be easy to switch. Of course, we do have to take into account things like bid offer spread. But yeah, that's something we don't know. We don't know what Vanguard's going to do with the rest of their product range. I know I've been gone for a while, taking a bit of a break, so I'm easing back into things. I think I'll do a portfolio update in the next week or so. Thank you for watching, and please do let me know your thoughts in the comments below.